I think there's a lot of people in a lot of these independent fundamental Baptist churches that are not even saved, but they've learned how to, okay, so take the example of somebody that goes through Alcoholics Anonymous and goes through the 12-step process. They come out on the other side and they're a different person. They've changed. They've stopped drinking, and obviously then other things in their life gets cleaned up and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have a lot of the same kind of thing that happens in a church. People can change without being saved. I mean, you can't be saved without being changed, but you can be changed without being saved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is, somebody prays this quick prayer, doesn't understand it, but they get in and they like the structure and they like the clean families. It's like Mormonism, they like everything about it, but it doesn't mean you're saved just because you adhered to the system, right? And I think there's a lot of people in a lot of these churches that are not saved. They just figured out how to, they've just figured out that, hey, there's a lot of benefits to living a clean life, and there's a lot of benefits to the family and everything else. But then that's why it lasts for one generation, and then most of their families fall apart. And their kids are all over the place, and they don't want anything to do with church because it's shallow and it was not based on a solid foundation. It was a house that was built on sand, and then the storm came and the whole house fell down, And so, I mean, honestly, I think I think we have churches full of people, and I'm not backing off of this thing. I think it's that same mentality, that same influence, the Hiles mentality that has created a lot of these different churches that way. And again, it's not to denigrate every one of them. It's not to say that there's nobody in those churches that are saved. I think there's plenty of them that are, but at the same time, I think they're full of people who are not.
Yeah,
and that's why we're seeing so many of the second generation, the pastors that are going in a different direction, but even the kids, the ones that grow up and all of a sudden you never see them at church again, and next thing you know, they're on Facebook with purple hair and rings everywhere. I mean, how does that happen? You grew up in the same church that it's because it was all based on, you do this because I said it, and the parents were there and the parents enforced it because they liked the clean living aspect of it, but the kids never got it because it was never real to them either.
I'm going to throw this out there too, and this is something I want to look more into. But somebody contacted me, and watched the film and says, "Brother Spencer, you gotta one thing. I don't know if you see it, and I don't know if I would see it. I'm too young to see it. But in that time, that era." It was kind of on the tail end of the hippie era, and a lot of people were just so sick of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They wanted something better. And here comes Bill Gothard. Bill Gothard's got, IBLP, and that's where the Duggars kind of came in on the scene.
Exactly.
And this, I don't want to use the term purity culture, but it was almost like this system that you could live by, and it had a lot of benefit. I mean, there's benefits to not drinking. There's benefits to not doing meth. There's benefits to, not having your mind, filling your brain with pornographic images. There's real benefits to living that way, but that doesn't mean you're spiritual.
Right. And that's exactly what my point is when it comes to the Mormons. A lot of people convert to Mormonism because they love the clean living aspect of it. They love the family structure of it and all of those things. Doesn't mean they're saved just because they changed. You know what I'm saying? So you can change without being saved, and I think that's what happened with a lot of people. They changed without being saved, and they fit into that mold. And then they, once you're in it for 5 years, you do this because I said, okay, I'll do it because you said, I like the benefits of having the clean living, but they were never saved. And so it's so shallow. There's no roots. And, a lot of those people end up leaving church too, when their kids start getting out of church and maybe they start getting a little bit embarrassed by the fact that their kids are not still in church. They're gone, and not only do the kids leave, the parents leave.
Sure. Sure. Well, I'm going to throw this out there to you because before I got called to preach, I wanted to be in law enforcement and I wanted to be a policeman. I've always liked guns and, wrestling, and I've all done that stuff forever. For me, it was kind of a good, I don't like doing the same thing every day. So, to me, naturally, law enforcement kind of seemed to be the thing. And I developed a lot of good friendship with policemen through the years. And one of them came to me and he talked to me. He said, "Brother Spencer, I got to tell you a story that's bothering me." And I said, "All right." He said, "We had a lot of car vandalisms in town, and where people would just come and spray paint something on the side of a car and just run off. And we got word that it was some teenagers at the high school. What we did was we went and he said I went to this guy's house and I knocked on his door, talked to his parents, and I said, I need to talk to this boy. He needs to come down to the office. We need to ask him some questions." Mom and Dad freaked out and said, "You better get down there right now. What have you done?" Well, they sat him in a room, isolated him, did the typical cop routine where they turned a little light on and the two-way mirror on the wall, and they roasted him. I mean, sitting there, "We're going to put you in jail for 3 years. You're not going to graduate high school. You're going to, just absolutely just. I mean, the only thing they didn't do was choke him. Okay, I mean, just all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This kid broke down, cried, begged, invoked the deity. He said, "Oh, if you don't just let me go, I'll never do that again. I'm so sorry. I should have never done it. Oh, but if I get out of here, I'll be the next Billy Graham. I'll go live for God." And I mean, just, oh my goodness, just please, 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 I'm so sorry. Like literally, they put a piece of paper in front of him saying, "Sign and confess to this," and he said, "Okay, please." And he signed it and said, "Please, just please." Okay. Sent him home, gave him a court date. Turned out he didn't do any of it.
I was going to say, yeah.
He didn't do it. But he just was put under so much pressure. He confessed to it. And
exactly. Yeah, you false confessions all the time, right?
Yeah, and I think some of these soul winners are so I don't know what the word is. They're convincing. They're strong with people. And they're doing the work, but the Holy Spirit of God's not doing the drawing in their heart. And there are men that are so charismatic and so good at sales and so convincing, they can convince you to say anything and confess to anything without the Holy Spirit of God doing the work. Right. And that haunts me.